Shang Chi. Let's go. Oh. Come on.
Welcome back, everyone. This is my full Shang-Chi ending and post-credit scene video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs, so we'll break it all down. Help set up the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the future of Avengers 5. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I'll be doing full breakdown videos for the entire movie this weekend too, and a whole bunch of other bonus videos. Careful for spoilers if you have not seen the movie yet, because we will be talking about the ending, everything that happened. So at the end of the movie, Wenwu, the Mandarin, finally realizes that the voice that's been speaking to him through the 10 rings this whole time isn't his dead wife, and Shang-Chi, Michelle Yeoh's character, the sister of Shang-Chi's mother, have been telling him the truth about the Soul Eaters and the extra-dimensional creature that they call the Dweller in Darkness, who is the real main villain of the film. The Dweller in Darkness is actually one of the Fear Lords in Marvel Universe. They're the beings that prey on the fear of others. They're like cosmic beings that eat fear. But in the context of the movie, they just say that it's a creature from a different dimension that came into the dimension of Tao Lao, where her people come from, and started to consume all the souls of their dimension before it would then come to the main MCU dimension and eat everyone's souls there. More on that in a second, but Tao Lao is confirmed to be in a different dimension. That's what happens when they enter it through the waterfall. They're basically crossing through a dimensional portal. Even though this isn't related to the Iron Fist mythology, it's a little bit like the idea of Kunlun, in a different dimension, the capital cities of heaven. The dimension that the Dweller in Darkness comes from is called Everine. He's also one of the elder gods like Chthon and Shumagorath, and in the comics, like in the movie, one of his big tricks was telepathically manipulating people the way he was manipulating Wenwu during the movie, just speaking to him as the voice of his dead wife, trying to trick him and other people into helping it escape. So it had done this many times over the centuries. Many people had become, a voice had been calling to them, promising them lies. It's what lies behind the dragon scale gate that was erected by the Great Protector. The people of the village in this dimension of Tao Lao are living there to protect the rest of their dimension as well as the main MCU dimension from this threat of the Dweller in Darkness. And they've been doing it for about the past 4,000 years. The reason why he looks a little more like Cthulhu in the comics, like he has the squid head with tentacles, is because Jerry Conway in the comics created him to be Marvel's version of Cthulhu. Obviously, they went with a slightly different direction for the character in the movie. After Wenwu sacrifices himself to save Shang-Chi from the Dweller in Darkness, he passes the 10 rings to him, then gets his soul sucked out, so he's permadead, R.I.P. Mandarin. And so was their mother, if that wasn't clear. All the stuff about her soul being trapped behind the gate was a lie told by the Dweller in Darkness. Shang-Chi uses the 10 rings to destroy the Dweller in Darkness using a legit finishing move, like he goes full Dragon Ball, and big Dragon Ball Easter egg, Katie calls it a Kamehameha during the movie. If you're not a big Dragon Ball fan or not a big anime fan, the Kamehameha was like the first big type of energy power-up attack depicted on that franchise, and it was kind of like the precursor to the Super Saiyan power-ups in Dragon Ball Z later. Maybe they'll make more Goku references to him about when he learns to harness the full power of the Great Protector Dragon more in future sequels. And if it wasn't clear, the reason why his energy is yellow like that instead of blue like his father's, because his energy is the same color as the energy his mother gave off when she was using the 10 rings at the beginning of the movie when they were explaining Wenwu, the Mandarin's backstory. She said that her power was a gift from the Great Protector Dragon, and I think it works the same way that Peter Quill's celestial powers work. When he was in proximity to Ego the Living Planet, he could form things around himself, he could give off celestial energy attacks, but when he's not near Ego, he seems more like a normal person. They never fully explained this during the Shang-Chi movie. I think they'll get into it more in the sequels, but my theory is right now that they're able to draw on the power of the Great Protector Dragon because it's like a demigod from their dimension, like another type of celestial being, the same way the Ego the Living Planet was a celestial inside the MCU. And these people in the Tao Lao village are its descendants, many hundreds of thousands of years removed. The way they narrate the backstory of the fight between the Dweller in Darkness and the Great Protector Dragon just makes it sound like it's a celestial being from their dimension. And Shang-Chi's mother, when he's a young boy, tells him, "You have the heart of the Great Protector Dragon." I think that's both a metaphor, and I think she meant it literally. Like, he literally has some of the same DNA as the Great Protector Dragon, the way that Peter Quill had celestial DNA in him. And that's why Shang-Chi is able to wield its energy like that. And this also gets into the origin of the 10 rings and how they actually work inside the MCU. More on that in a second too when we get to the mid-credit scene with Wong, Hulk, and Captain Marvel, because that's basically all about the power of the 10 rings. They seemingly kill the Dweller in Darkness, even though in the comics it was created from the manifestation of people's fears, and you can't kill fear. But in the MCU, I think they just want it to be an extra-dimensional being like Dormammu. And if Doctor Strange got a significant power-up the way he did during What If Episode 4, like if he went full evil Doctor Strange, he could become powerful enough to kill Dormammu. So you can kill beings that are that powerful, you just need more power yourself. They don't completely explain what happens to Trevor at the end of the movie, but I believe they just let him go back to the main MCU dimension on Earth and go free when Shang-Chi, Katie, and his sister went back to San Francisco, although his sister goes back to his father's compound. But then getting to the mid-credit scene, he and Katie are having dinner with their same friends from the beginning of the movie who were giving them a hard time about not living up to their potential, and they're telling their story about the adventure of the movie without missing any beats, like literally telling them everything that happened without lying about it. Giving away all the spoilers, because remember, this world knows about aliens, Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet. Even at the beginning of the movie, the same friend was the one that referenced the snap. We're living in a world where half of us could just die at any time. So you have to remember that in the MCU now, ground level, just normal people, aliens, Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet, that's all common knowledge, so it's not weird to have conversations like that anymore. But their friends still don't believe their story about going to a different dimension in Tao Lao until Wong shows up, opening a portal into the middle of the restaurant and starts yelling for Shang-Chi and tells him to bring the 10 rings and for both of them to come for an Avengers meeting inside the sanctum. Wong steals one of their drinks on the way out real quick, just downing it in a single gulp. Wong does like to have his fun, as we see later after the mid-credit scene, taking a trip to the Hotel California. But if it wasn't clear, the room where this meeting is happening with all the books is the library at the Sanctum, which is why I say this scene is happening before the events of the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, because there's no giant snowdrifts all over the place. Wong is holding an advanced Zoom call meeting with the Hulk, who's completely changed back into Banner from Professor Hulk. His right arm is still in the sling, so it's still all gimpy, permanently damaged it seems, but aside from the Infinity Gauntlet damaged arm, he seems pretty normal and healthy otherwise. Captain Marvel has her same costume from Avengers Endgame, but she's grown her hair out long again since the events of Endgame, so a little bit of time has gone by. They're using the same type of technology that they used during Avengers Endgame for the conference call because Captain Marvel is still in the Kree-Skrull part of the universe. Wong says the reason why he called this Avengers meeting is because when Shang-Chi used the 10 rings to Kamehameha, the Dweller in Darkness, Wong says that everyone in Kamartaj, he, Doctor Strange, all the sorcerers in the main MCU dimension, felt it. And when he says they felt it, he means they sensed it, like sensed some incredible cosmic power was being used. Like sensing when Thanos, the Hulk, or Iron Man were using the Infinity Gauntlet. Wong says that there are no records of the 10 rings in any of the Sanctum's codex. They keep records of all magical artifacts and items in their universe, so that confirms that the 10 rings came from another dimension, and bringing it back around to the way Shang-Chi and his mother were able to use their dragon energy, Great Protector energy, to wield the 10 rings in a more powerful way than Wenwu did. I think the movie pretty clearly implied, and Michelle Yeoh's character implied, that the 10 rings came from her people's home dimension of Tao Lao. Even though she doesn't clearly explain that to Shang-Chi. Like, he asks her point blank, what do the 10 rings have to do with any of this? But then she launches into that big exposition dump explaining the history of her people from that other dimension of Tao Lao. But during that speech, she never mentions the 10 rings again. She just talks about the war between them and the Dweller in Darkness and how the Great Protector Dragon showed up to help them. At the beginning of the movie, it's actually Shang-Chi's mother who's narrating the story of the 10 rings for him. She talks about the legend of the 10 rings. Shang-Chi, there are many things that you need to learn about the 10 rings, but some of that will come later. During that, she says the legend of how the Mandarin found the 10 rings changes over time. Some people say that he found them in a crater. Some say that he found them in a cave. Those are just references to the original Iron Man comic book version of the Mandarin and how he found the 10 rings inside the Valley of the Sleeping Dragon. In the comics, the rings themselves were actually just devices to power the McLuhan spaceship, which had crashed, and that's how the rings wound up on planet Earth. In the MCU, they're doing something different with the rings. I'll talk about that more in future videos where I think they're going to take the sequels, because I think they're doing some of the McLuhan stuff from the comics, but just changing it a lot, saying that it's all coming from this different dimension. But then using the Avengers technology to study the rings, the Hulk says that they're basically older than anything that Wong and Doctor Strange's books have records of. Michelle Yeoh's character did say that her people came to the village about 4,000 years ago, and it seems like they live natural lifespans, but are genuinely humanoid with some DNA from the Great Protector celestial being, perhaps. Then they pull a big zoom and enhance on the 10 rings themselves and find out that at the atomic level, they started emitting this signal when Shang-Chi used them to kill the Dweller in Darkness. But they have no idea who the beacon is broadcasting to, only that it's someone super ancient and powerful from the comics listening for that beacon. Someone who would have been old enough to have created the rings, which are bare minimum Eternals level old, and they're about 7,000 years old. I know a lot of people after the movie were trying to connect this scene to the Eternals characters, but I think it's actually setting up something different in the future for Avengers 5, because Shang-Chi's yellow energy is a different color entirely than the Eternals' celestial energy, and the Eternals are from the main MCU dimension. The 10 rings, the Great Protector Dragon, Shang-Chi's energy are all from a different dimension of Tao Lao. So the big cosmic being that the beacon is contacting is probably from the dimension that his mother's people are from. Also, because Captain Marvel is here for all this, I think it's a sly wink and a sinister twist on the space pager Avengers Infinity War post-credit scene, where Nick Fury activates this souped-up space pager to contact her across the galaxy. Like the 10 rings or a cosmic energy level power-up space pager broadcasting across dimensions to someone super powerful. And they'll pay that off more during the Shang-Chi sequel, and theoretically it'll also be a plot point setting up Avengers 5. Because the way Wong was hyping it up, he made it sound like the Avengers would be dealing with whoever shows up to answer that page. My early theory is that it would have to be somebody as big as Galactus, the way that they're hyping this up as a huge Avengers-level threat. And I don't think this has anything to do with the Kang multiverse war. I think this is completely separate. The whole thing with the Dweller in Darkness was sucking people's souls out. Galactus literally sucks the life out of planets, so they could just be trying to set that up slowly in the future of the MCU. You guys can let me know in the comments, though, who do you think that beacon inside the 10 rings is broadcasting to? Like, what is the celestial being or the cosmic being that's listening for that? But then Captain Marvel logs off the call. They have a joke about her phone number. Hulk says she does this all the time, and I don't have her number. That's just a joke about Captain Marvel never being around to help Earth out. They actually will cover that as a big plot point during Captain Marvel 2, The Marvels. The fact that she's super powerful, but she's never around to help on Earth, and everyone being super pissed about it. They tease that a little bit on WandaVision with Monica Rambeau's character. But then Wong says their lives, Shang-Chi and Katie's lives, are about to change in a big way, gives them a welcome to the team speech, which is the movie's way of saying welcome to the Avengers. Then they bring back that karaoke joke from the beginning of the movie, like we're super tired, we have this big life ahead of us, doing Avengers stuff, so we should be responsible and get to bed early. And then they go back to karaoke with Wong singing Hotel California, which was the song that Katie sang when they were in high school to just confuse the bully that was getting ready to fight Shang-Chi. It's just a joke about his friendship with Katie. But who knew Wong liked to have so much fun? Now it makes a little more sense why he was having that fight with the Abomination, why he seems so friendly with Emil Blonsky, like he calls him by name during the movie. I will do a separate video about the Abomination and what was going on with him during the movie, because they tease something really big going on with him, but they never completely explain it, and he just kind of goes away in the middle of the film. I do think it has something to do with what's going on with Val's character putting together the Thunderbolts, the Dark Avengers style team. But Val herself does not appear anywhere in the film. Then in the post-credits scene, his sister Ling is back at their father's compound and takes over the 10 Rings organization and changes things physically and metaphorically. So that now they have women assassins as well. Those were not Black Widows. Those were just regular 10 Ring soldiers, warriors, assassins. She kind of upgrades her former fighting competition organization using the 10 Rings. Like she even has her little fight promoter there from earlier in the film. There's all this graffiti decorating her father's compound, just like the graffiti around her fighting ring in Macau. She's also changed the flag in the symbol of the 10 Rings, giving it more red coloring. She says they have a lot of work to do, and then the tag at the end reads, "The 10 Rings will return," using her new version of the 10 Rings logo. Obviously, they will be back for Shang-Chi 2 in the sequel, but I think the whole point of the tag here, reading 10 Rings will return, means that we'll see them in another movie sooner than that. And because of all the shady stuff that Sharon Carter is doing as the power broker now in Marvel Phase 4 and Val is doing on the DL separately, I think that we might see the 10 Rings come back during Captain America 4. Like a lot of people mistook Macau, the location of her fighting ring, for Madripoor, so it seems like she as a character already fits in with a lot of what's going on with the Falcon and Winter Soldier power broker stuff. But post all your theories about that in the comments below. When is the next place that we'll see these version of the 10 Rings show up in a movie? I'll do my full Easter eggs breakdown video for the entire movie next and talk more about what's going on with these people from another dimension and Tao Lao, the 10 Rings themselves, the other huge cosmic questions that they didn't answer during the movie. If you do have any questions about the movie that you want me to include in that, just write them below in the comments.